going live. I don't know what to do, but like that's just how the universe works.
Well, really threw myself in the deep end last week with those live the 5 day live videos because I don't think I've ever done a Facebook live before. So
that's
I
well, you.
just did it. It was crazy.
So, what was like going through your head? Like, all right, so like walk us through that. Like, before we go into like you, your agents, and all that. Like, you just
Yeah,
launched like your first paid
yeah,
like type of
mm,
event. So,
mm,
like in your heart, like you felt like, oh, it wasn't worth it. Nobody's going to do it. I don't
mm,
know. Even
yeah,
though you've had results. So, can like you talk about that 5 day build up and stuff like that?
yeah, sure, yeah. So, you know what? I was I think I was overthinking the strategy and the tactic that I should take in order to basically sell and promote the course, right?
Right.
So I think I spoke with you and you said to me just do customer research on an email, which I did do, but what I did is I did customer research basically using a messenger bot, yeah,
Mhm.
and to get people into the group.
Right.
So I did the customer research to get people into the group, and then I kept thinking to myself, you know what, what's the best way of doing this? And I was almost overthinking it, and
Mhm.
I don't know what happened. It was like the Thursday or the Friday before we did the 5 day masterclass, right? And I was
Yeah.
just like, fuck it, I'm doing 5 days, absolutely everything I know, no holds bars. I'm gonna like answer every question that I get, and I'm gonna go deep into this. And so what we did is we took the customer research and then we basically formulated the 5 days around sort
Yeah.
of around those things, and we aren't basically I tried to answer as much of the questions that I had from these guys in the customer research itself.
Gotcha.
And yeah, man, it just it went, and the course was sold in like 2-3 days, so it was
Isn't
incredible,
that
man.
that's like absolutely mind blowing? But for
It
everybody who
is.
just joined, this is Kris Trinity. He's based out of London. I'm super psyched to meet with him. Like we've met in person once when I went to London, but you and I have been like following each other since like I mean when I was doing like my live trainings on my Facebook wall. Like I
Sure.
remember like you going, "Hey Jeff, what's going on?" I was like, "Holy crap, people from
Yeah.
like London are watching, right?"
Right.
Um, but you've been focusing your agency on aesthetician. How do I pronounce that right?
Okay, yeah. So basically, in America, you call them med spas, and
Yeah,
over here we call them aesthetic clinics, right?
got it. Okay.
So because I believe that probably the majority of the people who are going to be watching this are from America, we can just use the term med spas. It's not an issue at all.
Gotcha. Okay, so you do med spas in London,
Yeah.
and can you go into like how you got started, how that whole process and scenario was like? Did you magically like fall into like expertise with this? Are you just like a normal person that has some success? Like, can you talk about that at all?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's a great question. Okay. So going back to last year, right when I started running, so I had a client who owns several gyms, right?
Yep.
And what I was doing for her before is I was doing content work. So I was producing content like video content and stuff like that for her testimonials, and going in and filming stuff inside of her gyms, right? So she said to me last year, I'm really thinking about Facebook ads.
Hmm.
It's really, this is really interesting to me, and I'm hearing a lot of people getting results from it. Can you do it? Right now, the person that I am, yeah. And Richard Branson's got this phrase, which is, agree to do it first and then figure it out later. That's the kind of person I am,
Yeah.
right? So I just said, yeah, I can do Facebook ads, no
Sure.
problem, right? Yeah, did it, bombed, absolutely bombed, right? But I was like, man, like I'm not gonna like, I need to figure this out. So I purchased the course, same course as you, that
Yep.
Dan Henry's Get Clients, or FAFE, whatever it's called
Yep.
now, right? And so I started doing that. And then I just started doing like some of the normal stuff where I was posting in different groups and things like that. And then I got a message from a lady who is in Ireland, right,
Hmm.
which is just off England, right? And she said to me, "Oh, can you help me? I didn't know what the hell an aesthetic clinic was, so I was just, she just said,
Well,
can you help me with my ads?" Go on.
well, before we get into that, so
Yeah.
you were just starting your Facebook ads journey, right?
Mhm.
You happen to know somebody who does gyms, and they just go up to you and they're like, "Can you do Facebook ads for us?" Right?
Yeah.
And
That's
you were
right.
like, "Sure, I'm smart enough to do this.
Yeah.
Why not?" And then you know what happens? It bombs, right? So looking back, were there like some
Yeah.
obvious mistakes you made? Like your ad didn't have an offer, you weren't sure what you were doing. anything like that, or you don't know why it bombed?
Everything, Jeff. I didn't know how to position an offer properly. I didn't know, about. I mean, the targeting is fairly self-explanatory because her gym is located in an area in South London, so I just targeted in and around that area. But I think I was doing something ridiculous, like 10 miles from that area. And in London's like New York, right? So people aren't going to travel from one side of New York to the other to go. Yeah, exactly, no. Right. So there was that. And then there was, the normal thing where you're just using like all of the suggested placements that Facebook give you. Just do, or give me all of them. Yeah, I was just doing all of them, and there was loads of stuff. Basically, I was just making errors with everything, more or less. So yeah.
So you messed it up big. Great, fine, perfect. Everybody messes up their first one. And it was like you did everything wrong to figure out what you didn't know, right? So then you, just like me and everybody else that's been on this interview series, we get Dan Henry's course. And that's when you started your official Facebook ads journey.
Sure, that's right.
And you did, I think, the Curious Student. And is that how you reached out to somebody from Ireland, or how did you get in touch with that like future client?
Sure. Okay, great question. So first of all, I went back to the gym client and I was like, listen, I'll figure this out. Let me do it again, right? And so we ran a campaign again and we killed it. Yeah, she got something like, she got like 50 leads in a month, and she was like absolutely over the moon, right? So I was very, very fortunate in that way. Cool. But obviously I wanted to get more clients, and I wanted to get clients, she wasn't paying me a lot of money to do it. So I wanted to get more clients, and basically case studies. I just wanted to grow, this part of my business, because I could see I could see the potential in it basically as a business, right?
Yeah.
Having retainer clients and things like that as well. So I was just reaching out in a couple of groups and that, just various different business groups, local business groups and things like that. Just saying, I can run Facebook adverts for your business. If you like help, then, please message us and get in contact with me. And so this lady, contacted me and was just like, look, I need help. Would you be willing to, to do my Facebook ads for me? Right. Do you think, I have an aesthetic clinic or, med spa, didn't know what that was. Right. And I was like, sure, of course I can. Yeah, no problem.
Just first time, I'll say yes and figure it out.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. So, so that's how we got in contact with one another.
Got it. Okay. And so would you consider that first Curious Student your first client? Or is the one in Ireland like your first client? Like, is that when you said like this is going to be a client and agency relationship, or what would you say like was your first, second, and third client, and like how did you get those first three?
Okay, so all right, so what we did, right, is basically we worked with the lady in. So I'll just tell you a little bit about the results we got for her, right? So we worked with the lady in London, and in Ireland. And we did like, the usual thing, 7-day trial, that type of thing, right, for free. Yeah, for in return for a testimonial case study, etc. Right. So we did that, and that campaign we absolutely blew it out of the water in 7 days. Yeah, in 7 days, absolutely blew it out of the water, right? And I was like, holy crap! Like how we got her 108 leads in 7 days. It was for a really
huge number.
Yeah. Crazy. And it was a really, really low value. It was a really low value offer, right? So it was something like £45 or something along those lines, right? And so we just got like a shit ton of inquiries, basically shit ton of leads. And so the funny thing is, so this is how I got the second and third client, right? So I'm answering this in about sort of roundabout way, right? But what happened is that the offer that we were running for her was for a device called Venus Freeze, right? Never heard of it before. I still don't know what it is, right? But mate, I'm telling you, I still don't know what it is, right? And basically, I thought to myself, okay. I said, well, there might be a thing here, right? So, and obviously, I know that women are like, women are the biggest consumers, and they're also impulse buyers as well. So when you're running offers, I thought to myself, okay, this is a market which primarily targets women. Yep. Let me see if I can find other clinics, like this woman's business, who have this device, the Venus Freeze. Yeah. So what I did with Simon, the guy that I work with, is we went onto the Venus Freeze website, tried to find out a little bit more about it. And hey ho, they had a list of all of their clients in the UK.
No shit.
I'm telling you now, yeah. So I was like, okay, cool, right? Yeah. So what I did, right, is I put all of the clients on a list with the business name, telephone number, email address, and I just picked up the phone and I called them and I was like, look,
Really?
we've worked with this lady in Ireland, and basically, you know, we've got a fantastic results. I would love to run a trial campaign for you for 7 days. It's going to cost you £100. I'm not, you're not going to pay me any money. If I get results at the end of this, then we can discuss working together.
Okay.
So I was calling. I didn't know what I was talking about. I'll be honest, man. I was just, you know, I was really, really wet behind the ears. I was really, you know, sort of like just calling. When they were asking me, they were like, well, you know, why are you calling me about a Venus freeze? And I was like, because I don't know, because we got great results for it. I didn't know what it was. So when people were asking me like, oh, you know, what type of offer do you think we should run on that? I was like, let's just replicate the offer that we did for this lady here. So 2 people, you know, took me up on that offer, right?
Cool.
And we ran campaigns for them 7 days, and they absolutely killed it, right?
Really?
Yeah. So one of them got like, I think 60 leads. Another one got a lot less leads. She got, I think, about 20 something leads, but she managed to convert like something crazy, like 70% of them into customers. So when I saw that, I just instantly said, you know what? This is an industry and an area that I want to like actively target. I'm going to work. I'm going to find out more about it, and I'm going to find out how to just basically niche down and focus on this as you know, for my agency, basically.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And so that was the start. So you had like the first like real client that. How did you get in touch with her again? The one from Ireland? She messaged you. You messaged her.
She messaged us on Facebook. Yeah,
Got it.
She messaged us on Facebook. So we were in a couple of business owners groups and stuff, and then she reached out to us on Facebook.
Gotcha. So the first one, they reached out to you, and then from that point on, you just managed to get a big list, and you're just like calling people like, yeah, let's do like a 7-day free trial, cold calling, and you just went down that list, and from there you got your next big chance and your opportunity, and all 3 of those campaigns rocked. Right? Like blew it out of the water. And so how are you acquiring clients now? Is it like the same process of like getting lists and just calling, or are you running ads? Or like, what is like that scenario look like when you say, oh, we've got an open slot this month? How do we fill with a client?
Sure. Okay. So now we're a little bit more obviously advanced. You know, the time that I'm talking about, I was actually doing this. The stuff we're talking about right now, I was actually doing this time last year. So November.
Wow.
I was calling these leads up. I was like, yeah, listen, we want to run a 7-day trial campaign for you, etc. Right. So it was literally this time last year. And so where we are today, we actually advertise. So we run client acquisition adverts. Okay. So we use the testimonials. Every single one of our clients who we work with, retainer clients, right? Or even if they were a trial client, I ask them out the gate. I say, if this works well for you, are you happy to give me a video testimonial? Right. So right now, I think we've got 12 or 13 different video testimonials, right? Which I've edited and put together and stuff like that. And quite simply, all we do now is we just run those testimonials as adverts on Facebook and get people to opt in to like a messenger bot questionnaire. Yeah. So ask them a couple of questions. You know, what's your name? You know, what's your number? You know, how big is your business? How many members of staff do you have, etc. And they apply to speak to me, and that's it basically now. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you've moved from accidentally finding success, right? Into purposefully finding clients, right?
That's right.
And I genuinely believe that like paid client acquisition is awesome if you've got like those like that infrastructure of like testimonials. But would you, looking back, would you have started with like paid acquisition? Or do you think the best way to get like your first client is through that like friend of a friend referral free trial process? Like looking back, would you have done the same scenario? Or would you have made like a big change in the way you're working, say like 12 months ago or something like that?
That's a good question, right?
Right.
The answer to that question is I would have done it the same way, right? But there's a reason I would have done it the same way. Yeah. At that time, I didn't have the money to invest in advertising, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the biggest difference is now we spend probably about £600 a month on advertising, right? We're going to spend a lot more like now going into December and the new year, right? So basically, you know, at the moment we spend roughly £600 a month on advertising, right?
Yeah.
So at that time, I didn't have the disposable cash to do that, right?
Yep.
And where that cash comes from today, the cash that we reinvest into advertising, that comes from all of our retainer clients. So when the retainer clients pay us, we take a portion of that money, it's around 30-40%, and we just chuck it into advertising and business expenses basically every single month. So that's it.
So like looking back, like you would have done the same journey.
I've done it the same way.
Right? Because that way you know what they're talking about. You've got money to reinvest. You've got the testimonials. You got like the infrastructure things, like the things that you need to put yourself in position to where like you can do paid, advertising, things like that, which is like super smart. I think it's the right way to do it. I think some people like move too far into like the paid client acquisition, and then they don't have the backup. And then like, I have to yell at them saying like, no, you're supposed to have testimonial, stuff like that. Which is like super interesting. And what's funny is like, we're getting comments now, but I can't read them because it's BeLive, right? So like guys, give me a couple minutes and like we'll go through the comments. But by the way, we are doing a Q&A session after this. So like guys, if you want to like ask your questions now, Kris and I will be sure to go over them during the live. But the second part of the 3 or 4 bullet points is like, you've seen enough campaigns and you've seen enough agencies campaigns to know that like there's certain things that they're doing that are messing up the campaign, either by you've done it through learning, or you've seen other people do it, or you've seen your clients do it, right? So like, are there like some common themes that you're seeing people do when they mess up their med spa campaigns or aesthetic clinic campaigns that you're seeing time and time again?
Sure. Okay. So the biggest thing is, right, I have this phrase, right? And this phrase is, everyone finds it quite amusing, but the phrase is, stop trying to sell the cow and focus on selling the burger, right? So the biggest mistake I see, right, is that, especially with the med spas as well, and some agencies, is they try to sell off the bat the really, really high ticket, ticket courses and courses of treatments and packages of treatments. So they try to sell off the bat like, 6 treatments for £1,000 or $1,000 or whatever it is, right? And so what I say is, stop trying to sell the cow and sell the burger instead, right? In other words, what you need to focus on is getting that first person in, that bum on the seat first, and then you can focus on selling the high ticket packages, right? And from a med spa point of view, that is the single biggest mistake I see them doing, right?
Got it.
There's a second mistake as well, right? Is that these guys assume, right, that because they're like trained medical professionals or they're trained beauty therapists and things like that, they automatically assume that the market seems to know what all of these phrases are that they use. So things like HIFU and cool sculpting and microneedling and stuff like that. The general public don't know what these phrases mean.
Nope.
Exactly. So the thing is that, and it's one of those sort of, there's this American phrase. It's like, how does it go? Inside baseball, outside baseball. I don't know if you've heard that phrase before. It's like people. Yeah. So it's like, basically people who are in the game of baseball, they understand like all the tactics and the terminology and stuff that's being used. But, basically the viewers and the people who are watching the sport wouldn't be able to understand the.
I like that. Okay. Inside baseball and outside baseball. Yeah, that makes sense.
So basically, right, the wording and the phrases that they use and the terminology of their treatments, they assume because they are trained professionals, they assume that people, the general public, know what these things mean, and that's just not true at all, right? So what they need to do is they need to basically use other phrases and terminology in order to explain the treatments, right? And that's quite simply the biggest mistake I see them making at the moment.
So it's so funny bringing that up, because when I'm pitching Facebook ads, I know to not talk about heat maps and A/B testing and landing pages. They don't get it. That's like our tribal language. Like I talk A/B testing, you're like, that makes total sense, right? But like nobody gets that. Nobody understands that, because that's not the same tribe, right? And so like, I think it'd be like, if we ever decide to do like an AskCon or something like that, or an agency scaling secrets conference, I think it'd be like really, really cool to talk about this stuff, because you have that same challenge and your clients have that same challenge, right? They can't talk about vampire facials to me because I have no idea what they're talking about, right? and you can't talk about A/B testing to them because they have no concept about A/B testing.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, exactly. You start talking to the vampire facial this and that and that, and what you said is right. Tribal language.
Yep.
So they, as trained medical professionals, they have a tribal language that they use, and they don't understand that the general public don't know what the hell they're talking about. So
yep. So that's super smart. So like the first thing that you mentioned was I thought was interesting. So don't sell the cow, sell the steak, or sell the hamburger, right? Yeah. And I thought that was like, don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle. But what you're saying is that like you can't sell a human being everything at the highest price package all at the same time. It's not going to happen, right?
Right. Exactly.
And so you're saying that you're seeing agencies and med spas particularly have this problem again and again where they're coming up and they're saying, hey, did you want to spend $12,000 with us? And nobody says yes to that. Like,
that's right. Yeah.
Nobody, right?
Yeah,
like
nobody. You
got to have like an easy yes. Yeah, and what I really like about your offers, which you showed me later on, which was like, you have to get them to pay you some money. Because when somebody's paid you a little bit of money, you can get them to pay a lot of money, right? But it's really, really hard to take somebody from nothing to really, really high up. Like it's almost not going to happen, right? Yeah. And so you've developed like a whole series of offers and ads, which we're not going to get into. Maybe like later on or something like that, like a separate training. But like a whole series of offers and ads that are just working right out of the gate, right? And that, I don't know if that was purposeful, but when I've seen your ads, you don't have any like med spa language. You don't have any tech talk. And it's an easy yes dollar scenario. So because of it, you're always seeing like, what does your average campaign do? Like you're always doing like 30 to 50 COs or customer opportunities or leads in like in a month time or something like that, right?
Easily. Yeah. So we give a guarantee much like yours. In fact, I got this from you, right? Which is basically we guarantee a minimum of 30 leads per month, basically. Yep. Okay. So guarantee a minimum of 30 leads. If you don't get 30 leads per month, then we forfeit the following month's retainer fee. Okay. Yeah. So I mean and the thing is, we've never under delivered, which is fantastic, right? So happy days for that. But yeah, you're right. We steer clear of using that type of terminology because it's just off-putting and it confuses people.
Yep.
And I read in this book, I'm sure you've read this book as well, Jeff, Building a Brand.
I've read Story Brand Script, which is like in a similar vein, but yeah, go on.
Okay. So what he talks about, Don, I've forgotten his last name. Anyone who's watching, you have to get that book. Yeah. Guys, he's a super smart guy, right? What he talks about is that when you're communicating in advertising, right, what you need to understand, or when you're making an offer to an audience, is that your brain has two functions, right? And that's basically to survive and to thrive, right? Yep. And so when you're writing in a language that your customers don't understand, basically what you're doing is you're actually causing their brain to actually burn calories, right? Because they're having to think to themselves, okay, what does this mean? I don't understand. This sounds good, but I don't get it. And so what's going to happen from there is that once these people are, they're burning calories and they're confused and, by what they're reading, okay, this sounds good. The picture looks nice, but I don't understand it. You then getting them to have to think about, all right, let me go on Google and find out how much this costs. Or let me go on Google and find out what this phrase HIFU means. Or let me go on Google and see if this treatment is painful or whatever it is. Whereas what you want to do is you want to answer those questions really simply and concisely using their language in the advert and also in the video of you using a video as well. So
I think one of the phrases that I learned either from like the book or like a million different ways is like confused customers will not convert, right?
That's right.
And so when you're using your language, you might as well be speaking a different language.
Yeah,
that causes some confusion, threatens their survival mode. They got to look it up if it's gonna like be a thing, and then you're causing either them to not get their intended result or not take a next step with you. And I liken it, or my analogy is like, you know what? If we want to be good digital marketers and serve our audience, actually, it's in their and our disinterests to talk about A/B testing and split testing. That's like a car mechanic saying, hey, I know your Lamborghini is broken. Here's a wrench. And you're like, don't give me a wrench, right? It's going to like, don't. Like you should be talking and communicating your thoughts and ideas in a language that's easy to understand because you're not having that survive and thrive conflict, right? And so things like that is really important. What was the name of that book, by the way?
Say that again?
What was the name of the book?
Building a Story. I think it's Building a Story Brand.
Building a Story Brand, something like that.
Yeah, so, the guys. You have to get that. That book is guy's amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like 4 or 5 people like, what's the book name, stuff like that. So there you guys go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're
Building
seeing that
story brand.
that agencies across the board, and you're in the inner circle, so you must be seeing this a lot, is that their offer is not like an easy yes, that like we're talking like a dollar that makes sense. And they're trying to sell or they're using the wrong language, right? And so that's why we always run customer research, because we don't know language, right? Like we know our tribe's language. Like I'm from Miami, people in Texas talk differently, so do people in New York. So I can't go to like a Facebook group and be like, hey, can you give me a chiropractor out from New York and we're going to run in Texas? Not going to happen, right?
It's not going to work.
So that's why you and I run customer research in a certain way to figure that out. And it helps pre-test campaigns and stuff like that, which is like really, really darn cool. And you use it to launch your course, which is even smarter, which we can talk about a separate time. But like one of the challenges that comes up for a lot of people is like, all right, fine. So we got a lead to want to come in, but they won't come back again. Right?
Sure.
Or we've got a client that wants to buy Facebook ads as a service from us, but they won't come back again. So you also like, is there like a certain like expert secret to getting customers and clients to come back again and again and again? Or is just churn something that we just have to deal with as an agency?
Sure. Okay, that's a good question. So I think there's 2 parts to your question there. So I'll talk about from the client's point of view, right? So from the med spa's point of view. Okay. So from the med spa's point of view, right, and you know, we know this number only through working with them quite extensively, right. We know, you know, we recognize that out of, let's just say they generate, let's just say in the space of a month, this is very ambitious, but let's just say in the space of a month that they, you know, that they sell 100 treatments, right? Yeah. In the space of a month, okay. What we know is that we now know that 30% of those people will become repeat customers. Okay, right. Yeah. So 30% of those people will go on to buy courses. They'll go on to buy packages of treatments and different things like that. Right. Now, if you're doing anything over 30%, then happy days. You know, you're fucking killing it. Right. Right. But you know these clients, they need to expect that there is going to be some sort of churn in terms of, you know, they're not going to be able to convert every single person that walks into the door into a customer, right? So what we've done is basically we've put together a sales script for them. Okay. Cool. I got part of that from you, actually. So we put together a sales script from them, and it's got our branding and our logo on it and stuff like that. And basically it gives them exactly what they should be saying on phone call number 1, follow-up phone call number 2, voicemails, text messages, and also Facebook messengers as well. Right. Yeah. So what we're doing is we're giving them absolutely every opportunity to be able to close that customer. Okay. And to be able to close that client. Right. Now, the other thing I do as well is I do basically a 1-hour sales training with them, right? Nice. And this is before the ads go live. Once they've paid their money, I then say, okay, listen, you know, Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, whatever it is.
It's always a Johnson.
It's always a Johnson, right? You know, we now need to do a 1-hour sales training. So I need to sit down. I need to speak with you about how you're going to speak to these customers. And also the types of questions you're going to ask these customers. And additionally, I need to see how you're going to fill in the spreadsheet as well, right? So they get a spreadsheet with all the leads and the customers on it when they work with us, okay? Yep. Right? So I spend an hour and a half just going through that training really, really carefully with them and just making sure that they're doing absolutely everything that they should be on their end, you know? Yeah. And I say to them, look, because what we do when we work with clients now, we do 1-month trials. So we do 30-day trials, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason we do that is because I found that the 7-day trial clients, it was such a steep learning curve for them. Yep. To start running Facebook ads. It was such a steep learning curve that I just thought, you know what, this is that they just weren't converting. So like we were converting a very low number from the trial into like being, you know, sort of long-term retainer clients. Yeah. So now we do paid 1-month trials, right? Gotcha. And so those paid 1-month trials, I say to the client, say, look, you know, this is not going to be straightforward for you, right? It's going to take you, you know, maybe 14 days to figure this out, right? And then once you've got a system and once you've got an ebb and flow in place, okay, you're going to be okay. You'll manage to work it out and you'll feel better about it. But the first 14 days is really going to be trial by fire. Okay. Yep. So I just try to, make sure that when we speak and when I do the sales training with them, that they are, they're very calm about it. They're very, that they don't get too sort of worked up or panicked about it. Yeah. If that makes sense. So that's basically what I try to do, to try to make sure that they have as much success as possible.
So as part of the reason why people pay you, and part of the ways to make sure that they manage expectations and know how to handle this is you will do a 1-hour sales call with them. Is it right before their Facebook ads go live, or like right before their Facebook ads go live?
Yeah.
So after they've paid, do a training, Facebook ads go live. And that way the clients and customers, they don't like have a freaking heart attack because they're like, I don't know what to say to the phone, and like, which still happens to me, even though like I literally have a sales training course for my clients on ClickFunnels. They still freaking out, right? And that's mostly because the vast majority of the clients and customers that we serve don't know how to turn a conversation into a client. They just don't, right? I mean, if they did, they'd be a millionaire, right? And so that's like just the challenge. So one of the ways that you keep your agencies coming back is you have those paid trainings. And one of the ways you keep your clients, customers coming back is you train them on how to sell, right?
That's right.
And so that puts you in a position to keep your clients longer, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's
very,
right.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's correct. And you know what the funny thing is as well, Jeff, is that when they when they receive that sales script, right, and after they do the 1-hour sales training, they actually thank me. They're like, oh my God, like this is really, this is really good. Like this has really, really helped me. Thank you so much. And I'm like, this is part of the service, and and at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is just increase my odds that they follow the process properly, and that they have every chance of basically making money throughout the course of the 30-day trial. So I tell you something I did actually on the weekend, right? So one of the clients wasn't actually following the process, and she wasn't leaving notes, and she wasn't updating the spreadsheet and stuff we give her. So I was harassing her last week, and I was saying, look, like if you're not following these guys up, you're wasting money. Basically, you're throwing money down the toilet, right? I don't like my time wasted, and I don't want you to waste your time. So you need to basically get your head around this, right? And so she said, oh, I'll do it later on, whatever. And come the weekend, she wasn't doing it. So I just basically paused her campaign, and I sent her a text message, and I said, listen, I said, what I've decided to do is I've decided to pause your campaign just to give you time to catch up. Let me know once you've caught up with me. Right. Okay. Let me know once you've caught up, and come back to me. And best believe within 24 hours, she was like, yep, I filled in the spreadsheet and I checked it, and everything was done. But you need to do these things sometimes to these clients. If they're not following your instructions, you have to give them, not to sound too harsh, but there has to be like sort of penalties and stuff like that too, if they're not following the process. Because at the end of the day, you're the expert, what's going to work, and how they will be able to convert and stuff like that. And if you don't help them in that process, then you're going to become unstuck.
So that was one of the biggest learnings I had with growing my agency. It was assuming that my clients knew how to do their job. And like when I buy IKEA furniture, IKEA assumes I have no idea what I'm doing, right? When I buy a car, Honda says, I assume you have no idea what you're doing. So why do we assume that our clients know what we're doing, right?
Never assume.
And so never, just like have it, like teach, train, all that stuff. And that's one of the reasons why agencies can charge more and more and more money, because it's not just Facebook ads, but it's like that follow-up, and it's the accountability and things like that.
That's right.
And just like you, I have turned off campaigns, and I don't like using the term non-compliant, but like I've done this dance long enough to know like when somebody's messing up, which means like when they mess up, I don't get paid. So like I stop the messing up, and then all of a sudden they're doing it, and then that client or customer will stay around longer, which is like absolutely fantastic. And Derek Savard is on the live, by the way. So Derek has like the same challenge you and I used to have, which is our clients just weren't renewing. They were like dropping off. And now that I think at least I've instituted like sales training, I think you too, all of a sudden, like they're staying around longer, and they're paying more and more money over time, and they're converting, which is like, it solves that retention and attrition problem, not just as an agency, but also for our clients and their customers, which is really important too. If we're coming to the end of this, guys, so if there's any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas, now's the time. We've already got like 10 questions, so I'm going to ask Kris all the questions as they come up. And then we're going to see what happens from there. Somebody says, let's start from the top. Somebody says, Derek says your accent is very sexy. I don't know why, right? Alfredo said, yeah, right. That's like, thanks, Derek, right? So Al says, like, what does your targeting look like? Is it just anybody and everybody? Is it only women? Do you do like that custom stuff where like only women who watch television shows, or is it just like everybody and anybody?
Okay, so if we can just sort of refine that question a little bit. When you say what does my targeting look like, do you mean the targeting that I do for my clients or the targeting that I do for my own customer acquisition?
So the targeting that you do to get meds to people walk into a med spa. So like that cool. End customer, right?
Cool. All right. Yeah, fine. So basically we mainly target women, right? And then we just segment the women by age. We don't do anything below 25 years old because, sometimes, quite frankly, they might not be able to afford it. So we do anything from 25 upwards, basically, and we segment the targeting by age. So 25 to 30, 30 to 40, etc., etc. Okay, right?
Gotcha.
So we do that, and then we also sometimes. And the funny thing is, right, is that a client asked me this, yeah. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. So a client was asking me, what happened? Have you tried to add reality shows to your targeting, right? And I thought about it, and I said, no, we keep our targeting open, right? So myself and Simon thought to ourselves, you know what? Why don't we split test with targeting of like reality shows and things like that and see what happens. And since we've done that, particularly when you do that to like larger areas, cities and stuff like that, it actually works.
Really? That's so interesting. I would never think of that, by the way. That's super powerful stuff. But like for somebody starting out, like don't even go down the path, just do like women just 25 to 50.
Yeah, keep it open.
Gotcha. Yeah. Like what's interesting is like people who come from an ecom background or from an analytics background and like that are used to like a very intense targeting, like 1 million people audiences, that's when you can start playing around with that type of targeting. But 99% of the time when it's a local business that deals with local people, it's just everybody within that serviceable zone. So things like that. Hunter McMorrin says, how much do you charge per month and how much do you charge for that first month? Is that like you just pay for the ads? How does that work? Like what does that 30th day and 31st day look like?
Sure. Okay. So we charge a subsidized rate for the first month, right? And that subsidized rate is £700. Okay. So I don't know, that's about $1,000, right? And then after that first month, then we charge £1,000, and I don't know how much that is in dollars now. So that's basically what we do. So yeah, so we bring them in at slightly subsidized rate. I guess we're sort of using our own, like, don't sell the burger and not the cow type of thing, right? So okay, on top of that, ad spend is on top of that £700, by the way, right?
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah. So we bring them in for that, and then basically we charge them. The normal. We charge them the normal rate, which is basically £1,000 a month.
And so, are you doing month to month? Is it like a 2 month? Is it a 60-day program, 90-day program? Like
3 months. 3 months.
Gotcha. Okay, so the first month is 700. Let's just say pounds, right? You're probably going to get them results. You're going to train them well, and then they sign a 3 month $1,000 $1,000 a month deal, right? Very, very cool. Right. So now Hunter knows.
Something else about targeting, yeah. So we had a client who was based. London is a massive city, right? Yeah. So we had a client who basically was based in the center of London, right? And so he wanted us to run ads for him, right? And on a trial, and we were running the ads, and basically when we tried to do targeting within 3 miles of where he's located, it was something crazy came up, like 1.5 million people or something like that within 3 miles of where he was located.
Yeah. And
like we just knew that ad budget, the ad budget that he had just wouldn't sort of get spread that far, so to speak, especially with that many people, right? So what we tried to do is we just tried to look at like other factors in our targeting as well, just to try to bring that number down, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
The campaign still went really, really well, but it was important that with one, if you have an ad, but let's just say you have an ad budget of £100 or $100, whatever it is per week, that ad budget to 1.3 million people is not going to go far at all.
It's going to be spread around too thin. It's not going to work.
Exactly. It's hardly going to be seen. Exactly.
what I've learned is that like when your city is like highly dense and like highly populated, like you need to be tighter, right? Like the chances of like nobody's gonna walk 7 miles in New York to go to your gym. It's not gonna happen, right? It's probably just gonna be people within like 5 or 6 blocks, right?
Sure.
So you need to like have that context, especially in like cities like London, New York, Singapore, San Francisco. Hamdi says, I have a client in med spa. Do you have a white label service that Hamdi can take advantage of? And is that an option? Does your agency do that? How does that work?
We haven't done that before, but yeah, I mean, we could definitely do that. That would be great. Where is he based? Sorry.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure if you know what, I'll introduce you guys. Right.
Tell him to send me a friend request.
Yeah, there you go. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Cool.
Somebody says, what can we do in a small agency to work with brands like Pugiat? You and I both don't work for billion-dollar brands, so we have no idea. I can't help you there. Somebody says, how do you target business owners get clients? So how are you acquiring med spas, having to fill a form and saying, raise their hand, saying, yes, I want to talk to you? How does that process work?
Sure. Okay. So, right. So, so I'll be upfront here, right? I actually don't know the answer to that question, right? That's something that you would have to have a conversation with Simon about. Simon would be able to tell you. He's the brains behind that. Okay. I think you probably have another conversation with Simon. He will tell you more about that.
But the basic structure is you are now doing paid client acquisition, right?
Yes,
to like get med spas, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to go into like very specific things, but you're running an ad on Facebook, right? That says, hey, are you a med spa owner? This is what we do. We're legitimate. If you want to talk, fill out this form. Sure. Like the basic structure of ad form strategy session. Yeah. That's like the structure that you're using, right? So you're just using Facebook ads to get Facebook ads clients, right? That makes total sense. Which is like super cool. So guys, last call for any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas. If you don't have any more questions, we're going to bring this sucker to an end. I'm going to do a strategy session announcement. Kris is like volunteered to do 3 15-minute strategy sessions. So if you want to be one of those 3 people, stay on until the end and things like that. But let's just say like you had to go back 12 months ago, starting out brand new, and somebody who's starting out today, right, that wants to start a med spa Facebook ad agency or an aesthetic clinics Facebook ad agency. Is there some like expert secret that you can share that you're like, don't do this thing, obviously be doing this thing? Like if you could go back in time, like what would you be telling yourself or somebody who's starting out brand new?
Man, that's a tough one. So, you know what? I would just say that you've got to just go out there and you just have to go and just try and grab the opportunities that are out there. I mean, there's loads of local businesses who are struggling with marketing, who don't understand how to do it. They don't understand how Facebook works, right? And you know what? This is obviously not going to be for everyone, right? Because you have to have a certain level of confidence for this. But just pick up the phone and have a conversation with these people, right? Easier said than done. But literally just pick up the phone, have a conversation with people. Don't pitch yourself as like, I'm a Facebook expert and I can do this and I can do that, etc. Don't do that. Right. Just pick up the phone, have a conversation with them. Say, look, I specialize in Facebook ads. I just want to find out a little bit. I have a questionnaire. Just want to find out a little bit about what, what you're struggling with in terms of getting new customers. How many customers do you have per week, etc., etc. Just treat it as like a research project, right? Yeah. That should make you feel easier rather than going in for a hardcore pitch. And then at the end of that, then just say, listen, if I was to offer you, let's just say, a trial for 7 days, running Facebook ads, and it was free. All I asked for is a testimonial at the end of that. Is that something that you'd be interested in? If I could, potentially get you some customers throughout the course of the week. That's basically how I would approach it. Really, I would look at taking that approach to it. And at the end of the day, like there's a lesson to be learned in all of these things. Like you do stuff like that as a business owner, and Jeff, this, man, you have to have a lot of resilience and you have to have a lot of like mental toughness to deal with like some of the challenges and problems that you have every single day, right? So like just doing exercises like that, you're stepping outside of your comfort zone and you're building up that mental toughness and that strength and that resilience to take rejection and to carry on, to carry on moving forward, if that makes sense. So that's the advice. That's the best advice I could give, for anyone who wants to get into that niche.
So something that I took out of that is that you can't outsmart your way into success. It's just the actual physical body work of, yeah, let's do the 10 type thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really smart. So, but either way, like, I'm super psyched, by the way, for you and your success.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank
like,
you.
I remember when you were on the calls, like, I was doing like, hey guys, I'm gonna do a slide deck on Monday, and you're like, I'm tuning in, right? And I was like, I always thought that was really cool. And now you're literally, on the other side of that journey, sitting on the table, and you're like, holy shit, this is a real thing, which is like really cool. So we're bringing the sucker to a close. By the way, Kris has agreed to do 3 15-minute strategy sessions. So if you want Kris to get on a one-on-one session for 15 minutes, you can ask him questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas. Just hashtag Kris help me out, and I'll introduce the 3 of you to him. I do want to say that Kris has gone over a lot of information, ranging from how he got started with Facebook ads, the first free trial, the first person reaching out to him, how we got the first batch of clients, and now how he's turned that accidental success into purposeful client acquisition, which is pretty darn cool. You also talked about the 2 big things that agency owners and clients the mistakes they're making, which is they're trying to sell everything all at once, and they aren't using the same language, which they need to be doing. Otherwise, they're just not communicating. And more importantly, the right things that you're doing to keep your clients and your customers coming back and solve that client retention problem, I think, right? So we've got Hunter McMorrin, we've got Michelle Bradley, and we've got Erica Amore. So look out for those 3 people. I'm going to send like a group invite and all that stuff. Awesome. I'm going to bring the sucker to an end. Kris, do not hang up. Because like we've got like a little after session and stuff like that. But this was a great interview. I'm super psyched for your success. Even Simon too. I know he's like behind the laptop, right? But yeah, so this is the end of it. Gosh, I'm not kidding, Kris. There's like 60 people saying, Kris, help me out. That's absolutely nuts. Oh man. But yeah, Kris, thanks so much for your time. And Kris, don't hang up, but I'll see you guys later.
All right, man. Cool.
Bye.
See you guys later.